Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. We have our stories of hope, and we have our first guest, Dawna Campbell. She's with us here. She is lovingly known as the Mind Whisperer. It's all about turning life's challenges into stories of triumph. With over 25 years in the field, she's passionate about helping people live with emotional richness, peak health, and deep connections. Dawna is more than a speaker. She's a catalyst for change. Her dynamic talks, insightful books, and lively retreats ignite transformation. Whether she's at a global seminar or an intimate retreat, Dawna inspires everyone to dive into self-discovery and growth. Before becoming a transformation expert, Dawna managed $500 million as a financial advisor. This unique background allows her to blend financial wisdom with emotional healing. She transforms lives by aligning emotional and financial well-being through subconscious reprogramming. Welcome to the show, Dawna Campbell.
Thank you so much for having me here with you. It's a pleasure.
It's so awesome. Just before we went live, you and I had a wonderful connection, and definitely right away wanted to have you come back in the future for another longer discussion. That usually doesn't happen before. Usually I'll get the feeling to connect with someone after I meet with them. And but so I'm excited to talk with you now and then again, see you in the future. What intrigues me right away is, how you said your being a financial advisor before
Yes.
supported you to do what it is that you're doing now, and how that helped you. Because when you're talking about personal development and even a spiritual life, there's so many blocks there to being financially independent, being financially wealthy, or even feeling good about money.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And what I discovered as a financial advisor, I spent 10 years in that career, and clients weren't necessarily any better off than they were when they first started. And that was when I realized that money is truly emotional. And how you think and feel about yourself is really how money responds to you in life. And so if you didn't think highly of yourself, or you didn't think you were worthy, or maybe you didn't appreciate yourself, then money wouldn't necessarily appreciate in value, or your net worth might not be high. So there was a direct correlation in that. And that's what I've discovered through the healing work, looking back on my financial career.
Yeah, I just love that so much because, putting the same sentence, emotional healing, emotional well-being, and money together in the same, because really, ultimately, it is all energy, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Money is energy that's outside of you, and yet you are an energy being. And then there's this little law called the law of magnetism that bring the two together. And if you are in alignment, in gratitude, in happiness with money, that will be more magnetized to you than when you're in the energy of, say, resentment or blaming others.
Yes. So in your introduction, I was also, intrigued by when you're talking about turning life challenges into stories of triumph. This show is about
Yes.
stories of hope. And so when you're talking about turning life's challenges, like what would be the challenges?
They tend to fall in three different categories. Of course, money is one of them. Challenges also arise in relationships, but also in health. Now, there's two other components, spirituality and mental wellness. Spirituality is really the thread that moves through all of them, and mental wellness can be a facet of all of it: relationship, maybe even help. But I'll share with you my biggest challenge that I have. And it was at a time where I had just moved out of living in an ashram. I was with my 2 elder children at the time. And I was with this one person who I was in a relationship with. And one day, for whatever reason, they decided to attack me. And they put their hand around my throat and cut off my airway. And just before I took my last breath, they actually took their hand off of me and expected me to retaliate, which I could not do because that's not who I am. And they handed me this wood board. I put it down. I said, that's not me. And I walked out. Now, I could have taken that story and turned it any way that I wanted to. I almost died that day, and I could have remained a victim, and I could have a lot of different things. But instead, over the years, what I discovered was a silver lining gift. Because, see, this person, although that did happen years later, actually did cross over. And it was from brain cancer, which at the time that started was at that time that situation happened in the relationship. So it gave me understanding, it gave me compassion, it gave me empathy and forgiveness of myself, thinking that I had done something wrong. And then after, I received a really good silver lining gift because, see, I decided to be a victor instead of a victim. And in that was, wait, I'm still living. And I can live my life abundantly and prosperously in the way that I desire. And this other person cannot because they're no longer here. So it's not that situations are good or bad, right or wrong. There's just always a silver lining gift. And even if in the worst of circumstances, there is a gift there if you so choose to see it. And that was one of my biggest learning opportunities and one of my biggest personal transformation moments.
And probably the most empowering.
Yes, it was. And here's why it was most empowering. I was studying with a person who I call the medicine woman. She had like long gray hair, rolled up in a bun and these big glasses and was a little plump. She actually really looked like Mrs. Doubtfire, not what you would think of a typical medicine woman. And I remember a day when that situation arose and she asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I need a place to stay." And she said, "You cannot come here because I'm working and I'm doing these other things. You cannot bring that energy here."
Mm.
And she put it back on me. Now, she could have enabled me. Most of us would step up, no, come, stay here, sense of safety, all of that. She didn't. She goes, what are you going to do? And it was the moment of empowerment. It was the hardest lesson I ever had. It was the best lesson I ever had because from that moment forward, I've only been empowering myself, empowering my children, empowering other people, and not enabling them in any way. Because if you can make it through that kind of circumstance where you were in extreme harm and yet be empowered, get yourself to safety, figure out what you're going to do, you can conquer anything.
That's profound. That's profound. I'll actually have to, I personally will have to think on that even myself to place myself in your situation and be told that, like, what are you going to do? So I can really feel that energy, like, what are you going to do? Because that is because she did not see you as a victim.
She did not.
She didn't see you as a victim. She saw you all empowered and like sovereign and, courageous and whatever. It's like basically you're equipped. And
Yes.
you've got tools. What are you going to do? Which action are you going to take? So that's really inspiring and that's very powerful. And it's great that you saw it that way. Did you see it that way right away, or was that something that came later?
Not in the moment. I just went, okay, the one person I knew in this area, it's not going to work out. What am I going to do? So then I actually went to a hotel, got myself and my children to safety, and did all of that and really thought about it and made a plan. And then that was my plan to leave and moved back to where I started, back to Idaho, and really started putting together a different life path for me. And then when I left that situation and moved back permanently, I made a promise to myself and spirit, God, creator, universe, whatever word you have, that if my children and I were kept safe, I would actually dedicate my life to this healing pathway. And I haven't stopped in the last 20 years. So sometimes gifts might look like they have ugly wrapping paper on them, but when you open them, they're the most beautiful, sparkling diamonds if you embrace what the message and the lesson that was coming.
What a powerful, strong message. And you are a fabulous speaker. I was hanging on to every word that you were
Thank
saying.
you.
So it's great. Yeah, and great story. Great story. It's definitely something that has you contemplating and has you thinking about. I want to let the audience know how they can look you up and find out more about your work.
Yes, absolutely. The easiest way is to go to bookdawna.com, and Dawna is spelled Dawna. So bookdawna.com, and you'll see a lot of the different things that I do there. Just reach out and connect from that page. I'm
Yeah,
pretty available.
that's so great. So what is it that you want to leave the audience with, final words today before we wrap up and go to break?
Here's a mantra that I wrote during all of those hard times, and I still share it today. I actually put it in the book, The Abundant Soul, and wove it into the storyline. And it is trust and you will see, believe and you will know, have faith, all is well, follow your heart, and spirit will lead you.
That is a wonderful mantra. That's an ascension mantra right there. Definitely. Well, I want to thank you, Dawna, for coming on the show and inspiring us today with this incredible story. And may you come back in the future
Yes.
and we can
Thank
speak
you.
to you again. I want to thank you so much. Yeah. And audience, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Welcome back, everyone. Olivia Zugay is here, and she empowers authors to navigate their publishing journeys with confidence. She's the founder of Story Flow Solutions. She provides strategic guidance for publishing, launching, and marketing books. Olivia helps authors retain creative control by crafting marketable, successful works, offering expertise across traditional, hybrid, and self-publishing pathways. Her personalized approach includes project management, branding, audience engagement strategies. Dedicated to authors' success, Olivia ensures every writer is equipped to achieve their goals. Welcome to the show today, Olivia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
It's nice to have you. Do I say your last name correctly, Zugay?
Yes, Zugay.
Good,
Yes.
Olivia Zugay. That's awesome. So, what got you started in this book creative writing and helping authors?
It was really out of a love for books in general. I am a big reader. I am sadly though not going to make my goal of 50 books this year. I'm just shy of 5. So I won't I won't get there. But I'm a big reader. I've always loved books. It was my number one passion as a kid in college, but of course, kind of once I went to college around the like mid 2010s, it was still in that mindset of like, if you get an English degree, you won't make any money with it. So I went with my backup and my second love, which is horses. So I got a degree in animal science, in equine studies specifically. And through a bunch of different kind of career jumps, I learned that really entrepreneurship was my main focus. And just over time of working with clients, I have developed my knowledge and toolkit to be able to support and help authors at any level.
Yeah, that's so great. What did you give me when we were talking about in the green room, when you were talking about the statistic of people that, what was the statistic again?
Yeah, there's a statistic that 95% of Americans want to write and publish a book, but only about 5% of them ever do. So it's, if you are in that 5%, you're really making it. Because it is, I always tell my clients writing a book is only the first half of the battle. Like there's so much more that comes after. And in particular, it's really the marketing and understanding that you are creating a business when you are becoming a writer, because your book is not just your book baby, but it's a product to market and sell. And a lot of authors, unfortunately, don't see that, or just want to stay in the creative mindset of writing. So that's where I help them be able to kind of get into that mindset of, you are an entrepreneur, you're, marketing a product, you're developing a brand, and you have to position yourself as that to be the most successful as possible.
Yeah, I wrote a book, so I know that writing a book and publishing a book, I went the self-publishing route
Mhm.
back then when that was back in 2015 or
Okay.
2014. Um, and I remember that one of the main reasons why I didn't use a publisher is because I wanted to have control of my book and control of my rights and all of that. That was what I was learning back then. But
Right.
I realized too that once I was done publishing the book, getting it out there, then all of a sudden now I'm in the book selling business.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. I thought, oh, I'm going to put it on Amazon and then boom, it's just going to go out there. And
Yeah.
that is the furthest thing from the truth. It's like what you said, you now have to market, you now have a product, you have to brand and get it out there and sell. And what are you going to do that, right? So, and I think people are just, not aware, because I just wasn't aware that
Mhm.
because I thought, you know, that the book was just going to sell by itself or Amazon
Right.
was going to sell it for me.
Right. And that's a common misconception. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for writers, kind of lurking and doing market research, but helping whenever I can. But a lot of the groups are actually very specific in how you can comment and things. So unfortunately, I can't offer all the support that I want, but that's the common misconception within a lot of the groups that I see is they're like, I published it, it's out there, but nobody's buying it. And I always start with a question of, well, did you market it? Or have you attempted to, develop a brand around your author name, whether it's a pen name or your actual name? But Amazon does market it to some degree. There is an algorithm, but it's still better to develop your own audience around it, whether that's social media, or I recommend an email list because you actually are able to have more control with that list, whereas a social media account could just disappear at some point. You never know. But yeah, it is truly, truly an uphill battle with marketing. And I always tell my clients it's a long game. You have to be patient and willing to wait it out. You're not going to be an overnight success. So just, stay true to your art and who you are and the story that you told. But self-publishing is not always for everybody, just for that reason. But I will say that whether you traditionally publish or work with a hybrid publisher, you will still have to do marketing. I know that's always a question too, is, well, which option is going to allow me to not have to market? And I always say, well, no matter what, you have to market. Whether you publish traditionally or self-publish, you have to tell everybody about you, otherwise nobody will know about you.
I think that's a big piece. People just don't want to talk about themselves, especially after, like, if you wrote a book and then, it's that whole thing. You're just like thinking, oh, good, I'm done with that part. Now I can just go over here again, and I don't have to talk about myself anymore. Because while you're writing the book, you're always challenged, energetically also about the words you write, you being the authority in this, you're, writing this, you're sharing this. So it's a huge thing. But I think that the more that you educate people that they will have to market no matter which way they go, that is going to create an awareness around it. And so I liked hearing that, nope, you're not going to be an overnight success. And, it's a work in progress. It's with anything
Mhm.
that you do. So tell us about if people wanted to work with you and they wanted to go in the direction of finding a publisher, how does that work?
So I offer, people can just slide into my DMs or, which I think my Instagram will be linked, or they can, do a discovery call with me. I offer a free 30-minute call. I also have a freebie on my website that allows them to kind of take a quiz or questionnaire that helps them best discover which publication pathway. And then depending on which is best, they'll, be directed for next steps. But I also offer consultation calls to help any author, whether they've published, self-published or traditionally published, because everybody needs help with marketing, direction for branding, and just the next steps and how to best support themselves in their business. Because no matter what, you're always going to be a business owner as a writer. So people can reach out to me in any of those options. And
yeah, what are the social media handles like, even though it's linked, but some people may be driving and they need to say it.
Yeah, my Instagram is at Storyflow Solutions, and then my website is storyflowsolutions.com. And then if you're interested in emailing me directly, it's olivia@storyflowsolutions.com.
Good. That's wonderful. So how many books do you have books out there already?
I don't. I've helped publish several, but I am in the work on my own book for 2025, hopefully. But I have worked with authors at the beginning level all the way to six figures. So I have a wide array of experience with authors, and that's where my knowledge came from.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. It's great that you're out there doing this work. What I can tell about you already is that you tell it like it is, and I appreciate that. And so I'm really glad that you came on our show today. And yeah, I wish you much success.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Our next guest is Aeoliana Elliott. She's a wife, a hockey mom, a paralegal, and a podcast launch strategist. She's here to help you transform your podcast vision using her balance, communication, collaboration, authenticity, mindset, mastery, and empowerment framework. Together, you're going to find your unique voice and create captivating content, launch confidently, making a lasting impact on your audience. Welcome to the show today, Aeoliana.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so we were speaking before you came live, and we were talking about what message did you have that you want to inspire the audience with today? And you said,
definitely realizing that mistakes are okay. Failure is okay. Being a beginner and not knowing how to do all of the things is okay. The mistakes are what lead to our successes. It's what leads to our triumphs. We don't necessarily celebrate the failures, but without those failures, we wouldn't have things to celebrate. For me, this is something I've leaned on a lot in the last few years. And a coach told me this, and it was, you either get the result that you wanted or the lesson that you needed to learn. So with every failure, those are the two outcomes. Is you either get the lesson that you needed to learn to move forward, or you get the outcome and the success and the triumphs that you were looking for.
It's so true, because a lot of times I think we stop ourselves from taking action because of that, perfectionism, or even the fear of failing or making the mistake. Because even when you make a mistake, or whatever it might be, you might look foolish, or you might feel, this sucks, or whatever, right? And you prevent yourself from getting to that place, so you just hide and not take action.
Right. And what you realize when you think about it that way is that in not taking action, if, you know, when we're frozen with fear and we don't take the action, nothing changes. You know, I read somewhere, nothing changes if nothing changes. So, you know, regardless of what you want your outcome to be, make if you don't take the steps to change how you're doing things, everything is going to stay the same. You know, you're never going to get a better result. You're never going to change your circumstances if you don't take that action. And it's not always going to look pretty. It's not always going to be exactly the way you want it to look. But I think if we can learn to push past that fear and realize on the other side of that fear is what I want to accomplish, and take it step by step. Don't look at it as I'm here and then now I'm going to have it, you know, tomorrow I'm going to have what I want to accomplish. No, you need to take little steps and you're going to fall along the way. It's like, I heard someone equate it to when a child is walking. When a child is learning to walk, they don't stand up and run right away. You know, they take those first few steps, they falter, they fall, but they keep getting back up. And eventually they can walk and they can run. And it's the same thing with all of us, you know, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a new business, whether it's content creation, whether it's life in general. You know, the more mistakes that we make, I think the better off we are, because that means the more action we're taking.
That's so good. You know, I think, you know, that is such a great way to look at it. The more mistakes we make, the better off we are. I really think even for moving forward into 2025, because 2025, according to, you know, what's out there and what's being said, that 2025 is going to be one of the biggest years of change that we've experienced in a long time. And with that change come a lot of choices, a lot of, you know, a lot of different things that we're going to be faced with. And none of them we know how to do per se, right? We're not perfect at those things. And we're going to find ourselves, you know, in spaces, in areas that we haven't learned how to pick up that phone. We don't know how to do that particular thing. And so we're going to need to take action, and we might make a mistake.
Right. Right. And we will. We will. We were actually, it's funny you said that, because last night we were talking to our son and we were telling him that when we were his age, you know, there was no internet. There was, you know, you had to go to the library and you had to, if you had to write a paper, you had to go through an encyclopedia and you had to know the Dewey Decimal System and you had to do all of these things. You couldn't Google everything. And, you know, who knows, maybe 10 years down the line, what he's doing now for school and things like that is going to be completely different than it was for him now. So change is inevitable. I think it's one of those things that you can't avoid the change. The way you look at how change affects you and what you do with that change is where our power comes into. You know, realizing that change is inevitable, I can make the change. You know, that's where our power is.
Yeah, that's so good. I want to let the audience know. I want to bring up another topic real quick before we close out this segment. But I want to tell the audience how they can look you up on social media, and also, you know, you have a podcast, right?
I do. Yep, it went live in December. So, yes. I was like, what month are we in?
Yeah, congratulations. And so let's tell the audience where they can find you.
Sure. So my website is www.topshelfvirtualservices.com, and all of my socials are there. And then my podcast is called Your Voice Uncovered. It's on Spotify. It's on all of the places except for iTunes. I'm working on that, but it takes forever to get approved on there. But yeah, just look it up and you'll be able to find it. And yeah, I'm on socials. It's Aeoliana.Elliott on Instagram. My name on TikTok, Aeoliana. You search that. I think I'm the only one, so you should be able to find me.
Wow.
I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. It's called Podcast Strategy with Heart. completely free. Anyone can join. And yeah, those are the places to find me.
That's so awesome. You know, when you and I met today in the green room and we were talking, I was telling you that I just saw a news segment where they're going to ban Ron DeSantis wants to put on a ban to ban
Yep.
anyone up to 14 years of age to have access to social media accounts. And then you
Yep.
were telling me that you were talking to your son last night. You all were talking to your son last night about how you guys didn't have internet. I mean, and when we think about the whole social media part, you know, we didn't have social media.
No.
Right? We didn't have social media. And then what you also said that you didn't even give access to your son. He doesn't have social media accounts. He doesn't have
Nope.
any of those things. He has a phone, but doesn't have the social media accounts. And I said to you, well, that's great because then he's not going to be the one feeling that pain. And you said, but his friends will. And so
Yep.
now you can have that conversation with him tonight or whenever
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
you know, he's going to have to be a support for his friends there because you know, if that takes effect, they're really going to be going through it. Those people that have been raised to have social media access, you know, early on. And that's why
Yeah.
I commend you. I commend you for putting the boundaries down and holding back on that.
Thank you. I think for his age and kids in general nowadays, having social media just exposes them to more than they need to be exposed to. You know, those years they shape who they're going to become, and having access to all of that makes it really difficult to really know who you are when it's plastered everywhere. So I guess, you know, I didn't want that for him. Things are hard enough at his age. That doesn't need to be, you know, that doesn't need to be plastered everywhere. His shortcomings, his mistakes don't need to be plastered on for everyone to see. There doesn't need to be a record of that.
There's such a pressure out there with social media. It just adds an
Yeah.
extra pressure. And the other thing that it's doing, it's disconnecting communication with real life, like
Yes.
communication with you and me, communication with nature, being out. You know, my brother right now has nieces and nephews visiting visiting him for over the holiday season, and he gave them boundaries when they got there. They can go ahead and access their phones, you know, in the morning for like a couple hours and then one more little while in the evening, but the rest of the time they have to stay off their phones. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a great boundary because one of the things is, you know, if we're looking at how our kids are being raised and how you know, people are showing up, what kind of children do we want to raise in the future? We don't want to raise children that are disconnected from each other and that don't know how to communicate and listen to each other and talk to each other or even be out and play in nature.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think it's wonderful what the work that you're doing and the example that you're setting, the role model that you are. And I want to thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. Good luck with your son's game.
Thank you. We're down. We won one, so we've got another one at 6. So hopefully we win that one too, and then we come back tomorrow. So
Okay, good. Well, it's great that you're there for him, showing up at the games. I think that's another commendable thing. Good for you.
thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Yeah, you too. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Our next guest is Shaye Woodward. She's a relationship specialist and a master certified coach that's dedicated to serving entrepreneurial and professional moms dealing with ADHD personally or with their family to go from chaos to clarity and productivity. Drawing from personal experiences dealing with ADHD and coaching others, Shaye has become an advocate for transforming struggles into strength. She's also co-authored a self-improvement book, Winning the Human Race, and becoming an international bestseller with a collaboration book, Visibility 4, recently. Welcome to the show today, Shaye Woodward.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate being able to be here with you and speaking with you.
Yes, it's wonderful to have you. So, you weren't always serving in the capacity that you're serving now. There's something that happened to you prior.
Correct. I was coaching before, focusing on the ADHD, and it was, it was enjoyable. My husband and I were co-coaching with couples and things like that, making a difference. But it was about 4 years ago when things changed after I had a car accident. And things changed with my personality, who I was. It exacerbated my ADHD to the point of just extreme. And so because of that, it kind of propelled me a little bit more in looking at like, how can I really serve others, and not just, not just in the couples area, but individually. And it really came about last year, the focus really niching down into that after my oldest son was diagnosed with it and the struggles he went through and how sad he was about it. And it kind of gave me a different side of the perspective, because we always think ADHD is funny, all the funny things that we see about it. And while it is, there's also some real hard struggles on the other side of it too.
Yeah. So, you had said this, and I was wondering about it. You had said that your personality changed.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean?
Before the car accident, I was a very, very normal, considered people pleaser, where you do everything for everyone else, almost to the extent of it being, you put yourself in a martyrdom type of situation. And you focus on everyone else and how their needs are and what their needs are, to the detriment of you sometimes. And you always say, yes, I'll do it, or yes, I'll help you. And afterwards, after the accident, I was kind of like, no, but thanks for asking. And my husband, it was really interesting because my husband asked me a question one day, and I just split second without even pausing. I'm like, oh, no way, it's not happening. And he started laughing. And I thought, oh, I am so sorry. I didn't even give it a chance to breathe. And he says, no, finally, I know what you're thinking. I don't have to guess anymore. And so some of the things that we think that are really tough can actually be a blessing or a gift in disguise.
Yeah, I think that's so great. I mean, that that's a really profound switch, isn't it? It's like,
It was.
yeah. So it truly is a gift.
It
Yeah.
is. And it
And I,
it changes the relationships a lot, because
yeah.
everybody's expecting you to be people pleasing still, willing to do everything for them.
You're
And
not a Libra, are you?
I'm not, I'm a Leo.
Wow, I didn't know Leos were people pleasers too. I thought only Libras were, but yeah, that's interesting. Wow, so that's a profound change. And so then I wanted the other question that I had is, when you say that ADHD, some of the things are funny,
Uh-huh.
what are those?
Well, I jokingly say the Roomba effect. Okay. And people are like, Roomba dancing? I'm like, no, no, no. Roomba the vacuum. So what does a Roomba vacuum do? It goes across the room, bounces off of something, and then goes back and bounces off of something else. And that's how it cleans the room, right? Well, with ADHD, a prime example is I'll go in the kitchen and start the dishes, see that there's a dirty tea towel on the counter, and be like, oh, I should run that to the laundry room. Walk into the laundry room. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do those clothes. I need to fold the clothes. Oh, I should just take them to the room, put them away. And you walk into the room, you put the clothes away, and you realize there's more dirty clothes in there, and you take it back and you go back to the laundry room, and you're like, oh, yeah, I was doing the dishes. And then you go do the dishes. So it's kind of like, I mean, it's frustrating in the fact that like maybe you don't finish things, but in another aspect, it's kind of a gift, because you can just go and do, and just wherever you see things, you just grab it and take care of it instead of walking right past it.
Yeah.
So look at both sides of it, but it can be funny. In fact, it can be funny to the effect that people are like, oh, there she goes again, and it's fine with me, but that's because I accept me for where I'm at and who I am. I have ADHD, but that's not my identity. My identity is Shaye Woodward. My characteristics are I have ADHD, and I tend to have crazy moments where it's like all over the place, or I might be standing there just crying because the emotional regulation has just gone out the window, or whatever it may be. But accept yourself for where you're at, because you can't move forward until you do.
Yeah, I mean, this is good advice for anybody, not just people with ADHD. I mean,
Right.
this is really true. It's there's so many profound nuggets in what you just said. Do you know the statistics of how many people suffer from ADHD?
Currently, the statistics are about 15.5 million are people that suffer from ADHD or have been diagnosed with it. Now, that doesn't mean like it's split down the middle. It's actually more men are diagnosed than women. And that's because women do not get diagnosed either as early, or we don't exhibit the symptoms the same way as men. So for boys dash men, or however you want to classify that, the male society exhibits it physically a lot more than women do. Women, it's a lot more dealing with like the brain and our thoughts and the emotion side of it. Whereas with boys, it's more the physical. They can't sit still. They can't, they're talking all the time or things like that. Girls exhibit it too, but it may not be as excessive as the boys. So they get caught earlier.
Yeah, I think also with women, it's easier to miss in that way, where because women, they're multidimensional, they're multitasking is what I was saying. Anyway,
Right.
right? They're doing that.
Yeah.
And so with women, it's easy to miss that because that's what they normally do anyway.
Right. Like right now, I had a podcast to do and I was unable to say, well, I'm sorry, I can't watch your baby, until I have my granddaughter with me. But we're working with it. I talk to you and I can know that she's sitting here and she's, chewing on a toy because she's teething. But it's that natural ability to be able to handle more than one thing at a time, whereas maybe boys are not as capable or men are not as capable. Not that they can't, they're just not naturally inclined like we can be sometimes.
Exactly, not naturally inclined. And look at what you just said, we're rolling with it. It was when I opened up the show today and I saw you there with your granddaughter, welcome. It was like, oh, look at here, how cute.
Right.
Can I say, what an adorable, sweet, sweet baby. It's hard
She
to
is.
believe that she's teething because she's just hasn't made a peep. If you didn't mention it and somebody wasn't looking at this show, they wouldn't be able to tell that there's another person there.
True. Very true. She's a very good baby. We've been very blessed, and she's just very calm demeanor, which is kind of the opposite in our house because we're a blended family of 9 and all 9 of them have varying degrees. Plus we have 19 grandchildren. Now we can't count her yet because she's only 3 months old, but all the other 18, there's varying degrees of the ADHD. So when you talk about a clan, we got a clan going.
Okay, wow. Well, obviously you're still laughing.
Yes, yes.
Obviously you're still laughing and it's going well. And congratulations. Wow. That's quite the family, quite the legacy. Good that mom and dad are coaches and are helping stabilize the environment. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to let the audience know how they can look you up and find out more about you.
Absolutely. We have a website where you can reach out to me, and there's actually a top 10 checklist on there for those that have busy brains. Because even if you are not diagnosed with ADHD, you may be dealing with some of the same symptoms. And so you can go to winningthehumanrace.com/ADHD-style. And you can pop on there, grab that checklist, or book a 15-minute chat with me and just kind of see where you can, go and move forward, or what struggles you're having. Because even though it's a checklist with 10 things, you can also talk to me and we'll find out what is the one thing that you really need to focus on.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly help with a lot of things, and having a family and how to raise children with ADHD and so many other things. I can tell that you would be a wonderful coach, a
Oh,
wonderful
thank you.
coach to work with. I want to thank you, Shaye Woodward, for coming on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I want to thank the audience for listening and tuning in, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again next week, everyone. Take good care.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.